Hello everyone, Nina here with Waffle Flower. I'm going to share what's included in our sneak peek club kit for December 2023. We're going with a winter theme for January, but we're also releasing more postage collage dies for different card sizes with coordinating block stencil. We included the mini Slimline version in this kit. Some changes are coming to our club kits for 2024. One change is the inclusion of project cards in the kits, featuring the names of the ink and cardstock colors used. Another change is that we prepared one longer video to post on the 10th instead of 3 separate short videos, hoping to make it easier for you to find all the information in one place. If you're new to mini Slimline card sizes, there are actually several versions of it on the market. Waffle Flower has chosen to go with the 3.5 inches by 6 inches version for many reasons, and one of them is that you can use a 6 by 6 paper pad for them. We've had the basic mini Slimline layers and additional mini Slimline layers for a while, and we'll release the lasting stitched rectangles for mini Slimline, rectangle frames, and lacy layer dies for the mini Slimline size. We're working on another video to help you decide which version of these basic shape dies might be the best for you. Let's dive into our new kit. We call these coordinating stencils for the postage collage dies the blocks stencil because they are basically rectangles to help you color the background of each stamp. My favorite is to cut out the postage collage die from craft cardstock and stencil white pigment ink over the openings on the stencil. You will notice there are thin etched lines around each opening, and those are for lining up your stencil to the dashed lines on the die cuts. Once you're lined up, you should not see any of those dashed lines through the openings. I've found these foam daubers work better with pigment inks than your soft Bristol blending brushes. If you couldn't pick up enough ink directly off the ink pad, try striping the ink pad over your glass mat or even the lid of your MISTI to lay down a layer of ink for pickup. It was a night and day difference for me. The white will show up even more once completely dried. Thumbs up for this look. Now I have the perfect canvas for whatever images I may want to put in these little stamps. Let's do some quick ink blending with the block stencil. My paper is trimmed to 3.5 inches by 6 inches as indicated on the stencil, and I line it up to the etched guides on the stencil. This is to make sure your designs can still be perfectly centered even if you're not using the stencil with a die. I'm going to use some of the Whitman guides as masks for these openings, or any clear acetate sheets you may have around will work for this. The grip mat will help you hold them down really well. But don't forget that when it comes to our guides, it's always the right side down for the mats. This is to help avoid the prints on the back of the guide transfer to the mat, especially when you put the guides on top of the mat for storage. There are many color combinations to experiment with these background blocks. I went with the magical Aurora look, but you will see more options in Galina's samples later in this video. It never ceases to amaze me how the colors change when they meet in the middle during ink blending. Whenever possible, I prefer to wipe off the excess ink off my stencil with a dry microfiber cloth when I still have the stencil down. You can use the stenciled blocks as they are, but I decided to cut it out with the Postage Collage Mini Slimline die. So cute. To stamp some silhouettes from the Winter Elements stamp set, I placed my Postage Collage die cut in the middle of the grip mat mounted to the inside of that original MISTI and layered the block stencil back on top. If you started with the grip mat already in your MISTI, you don't have to take it out. But one step I do recommend you do is to place a clean grip mat guide on top of your paper before you put on the stamps. Some stamps, especially when they are solid and new, tend to lift up the stencil and paper when you use the lid to pick them up. If the stamps were previously used, there might be leftover ink on them, which could transfer to your project as you plan the layout. So yes, The Gridman guides are your best friends. Don't forget them. And remember to use them right side down over the mat. See how the stamps picked up my guide? Peel it off and you're good to add some ink. I usually use VersaFine Onyx Black for solid stamps. I did press down a little more along the edges of the stencil openings to make sure the stamp can reach the paper. Stamp again if you missed a spot or two, you're using a MISTI. I have switched to use a piece of leather chamois to clean my stamps. I like that they are lint-free and reusable. Stamp the gondola over the cable line, and I was done with my panel. If there was a most inspiring award for die designs, my vote would go to the Postage Collage Die, designed by our own design team member Galina. Let's see how Galina uses this kit. As mentioned earlier, we will include all the ideas in one video so you can find them all together in one place, starting with this kit. First tip from Galina is that you can quickly poke out the little circle pieces on your Postage Collage die cuts with a foam pen and a roller tool like the one she used. I think both Sizzix and Spellbinders have something similar to this. I love how Galina uses a piece of printed paper to create a mask for her snow-capped mountains. It may not show in the video, but she has some acetate sheets over the top two rectangles on the left when she blends in the rest of the openings. Here you can see she replaces masks when she blended ink over the top two rectangles. For a realistic snow look, you will need some opaque white paint. Galina uses the one by Kuretake, which we carry in the Fun Finds section at waffleflower.com. Thin the ink a bit with some water and flip to add snow. You can also use a paintbrush to add some bigger drops and even stars to the background for variation. Galina also shares how she would use the stamps without a MISTI. I personally prefer the acrylic blocks because it provides freedom to move around quickly. The only issue is that you may not have a solid impression with just one stamp. Galina conditions her stamps with an eraser, but you could just stamp off the ink on some scrap piece of paper to remove any possible residues from production. Our stamps are made from one of the best photopolymer materials out there and should take ink very well. If you don't mind the dimension, using some foam tape to help mount the panels to card will elevate the design even more. The next card uses more pastel colors. To stencil over colored cardstock, we recommend Distress Oxide inks. The pigments in these inks tend to stay on top of the paper when dried and show up very nicely. Same process as shown earlier in this video. Mask off the other openings to blend in the background colors. For a softer look, Galina uses rich cocoa memento ink instead of black for the solid silhouette images. And as you can see, it was really easy to move around to stamp in multiple places with the stamp mounted to an acrylic block. The next step is an extra step to take your card to the next level. Using some Versamark ink, Galina swipes the ink pad directly onto the paper around the corners of the stencil openings, and he embosses in white. This makes it look like a scene that you will see through some snow-covered windows. Aren't these cool? We love how easy it is to trim these rectangles apart to arrange your own collage on the card. Even though this panel die is designed for mini Slimline, you can totally use the stamps for other card sizes too. As for the other smaller dies in the set, they're designed to be inked and stamped over to accent any card you may have. They're quick and easy to use to add a snail mail touch. You can also just use them to create a focal point of your card with some simple pattern paper and a sentiment strip. The possibilities are endless. I hope you are inspired to create with your new club kit. Stay tuned for more awesome products in our January release. We hope to see you again soon.